The more things change, the more they stay the same. I will never regret the vaccine, even if it turns out I injected actual poison and have only days to live. My heart was in the right place. I got vaccinated out of love, while anti-vaxxers did everything out of hate. If I have to die because of my love for the world, then so be it, but I will never regret or apologise for it. Serious Jonestown vibes. I mean, talk about a true believer.
This is a new religion because it's acting like a religion.
Yeah.
It's dogmatic. It's absolute. It's, if you do not believe in it, you are condemned to hell. It's, you know, maybe this is a new religion.
Wild to see people posting endless videos of their packed New Year's Eve parties while emergency rooms are packed and doctors are rationing care. Yes, it's 2023. 3 years later, and after everything we've learned, the Covidians still haven't gone away.
You should be wearing masks even when you are vaccinated if you are indoors.
Crazy conspiracy theorists are claiming that COVID jabs are fueling new COVID variants. Crazy conspiracy theorists who work for, checks notes, The Wall Street Journal. Growing evidence suggests that repeated vaccinations may make people more susceptible to XBB and could be fueling the virus's rapid evolution. Oh well, whatever, roll up your sleeve, it's 5th booster time. Get vaccinated. Thankfully, the efficacy of the vaccine has been vouched for by that bastion of healthy living, McDonald's. Tragedy struck when Buffalo Bills player Demar Hamlin suffered a cardiac arrest after being struck in the chest when making a tackle.
Hamlin, the Buffalo Bills safety, was hit right in the chest. He got up, wobbled for a second, then collapsed.
Many rushed to blame Hamlin's collapse on the jab, which, let's face it, was pretty stupid. He'd literally just been poleaxed in the chest seconds earlier, which maybe had something to do with it. Experts pointed out that Hamlin was likely suffering from commotio cordis, where a blow to the chest at a precise moment in the electoral cycle stops the heart, which, yes, has happened to professional athletes in the past before the COVID jab, but that rush to judgment enabled the legacy media to exploit the situation, giving them headlines like this: the inevitable grotesque effort to blame vaccines for Demar Hamlin's collapse. Lesson being, no, not every death or collapse of someone under the age of 40 is vaccine related. But by the same token, because Hamlin's collapse wasn't caused by the jab, doesn't mean the overwhelming number of athletes who have suffered a similar fate over the last 2 years should be ignored. A story that received noticeably less coverage than the Hamlin incident was the acute heart failure death of ex-NFL star Uche Nwaneri. 38-year-old Nwaneri suddenly collapsed at home and could not be saved. He previously called for the unvaccinated to be jailed, tweeting, quote, "Okay, so let's get these vaccine mandates and vaccine passports up and running ASAP. We're seeing children die daily from the unvaccinated. Selfishness. Pregnant women at risk too. Protect life. Mandate the vaccine. Jail anyone who refuses to protect life." Was his death vaccine related? I don't know. It's a tragedy either way. But it's pretty rich, isn't it, when many of the same people who vilify so-called anti-vaxxers for blaming every death on the jab have spent the last 2 years blaming every COVID death on the unvaccinated. Not going to comment on the football injury out of respect for the family, but I can't help but notice a lot of people whining about anti-vaxxers being mean for talking about it are the same people who breathlessly posted every article of an unvaccinated person dying of COVID. Let's pause there for a word from the sponsor of this video. I'm not normally into graphic novels, but I've been reading 10 questions for James over the Christmas period. Boom. It surprised me pretty quickly and it became a real page turner. It's over 500 pages in length, but I completed it in about 3 sittings. James Waters' plan for the evening was simple: get drunk. But the angel had other ideas. He offered James the answers to any 10 questions of his fancy. The nature of God, the universe, or hell, even JFK's true assassin, it was all for the asking. But then the demon threw him a hard curve by telling him someone in the bar was going to die at 12:21. The author of this book has an accomplished background in computer sciences and artificial intelligence, so it's written as an explanation and defense of the Christian faith, geared towards appealing to those of an intellectual, analytical mentality, as well as the open-minded agnostic who is searching for a more reasonable approach to Christianity. This isn't some cringe sermon or dreary offering. The book sinks its teeth into the Nephilim and the giants mentioned in the Bible, the biblical documentation of time travel, creation versus evolution, as well as the reality behind Roswell, UFOs and aliens, and how man is trying to replace God with transhumanism. It's not about browbeating you with religious tracts. It's about communicating an extremely important message in an easily accessible and digestible format. Really enjoyable read. You get invested in the characters and their different paths. and it really reaffirms your faith. Biblical teachings, which can sometimes come across as stuffy or outdated, are cogently explained in a modern setting and context. As part of creating this ad, I've chatted a lot with the author. He's a fascinating guy and he's a big fan of the channel. So please support me and him by getting your hands on an ebook or colour hard copy of 10 Questions for James by clicking the link in the description below. Now back to the video. Lost amid all the debate about Hamlin was perhaps the biggest story of them all. A new Rasmussen poll found that, quote, 49% of American adults believe it is likely that side effects of COVID-19 vaccines have caused a significant number of unexplained deaths. That's more than the 37% who don't say a significant number of deaths have been caused by vaccine side effects. And this is huge. 48% of Americans believe there are legitimate reasons to be concerned about the safety of COVID-19 vaccines, while 37% think people who worry about vaccine safety are spreading conspiracy theories. Another 15% are not sure.
This one, I can honestly say, is probably the biggest poll we've ever run in our 20 years of business. 28% of American adults, which extrapolates to about 73 million people, say they know someone who they think died from the vaccine. That's absolutely astonishing.
Just think about that for a second. Despite years of demonization of anyone who asks such questions, years of big tech censorship, now we learn, much of it done at the behest of governments, of medical doctors and health professionals who asked those questions. All that censorship, all that social engineering, and yet still, a plurality of Americans share those concerns. Maybe instead of vilifying and trying to cancel anyone who spoke out, you should have treated them with respect and actually tried to address their worries.
We've got to get them vaccinated, and hopefully they will do it willingly.
In the UK, we've just gone through 4th booster shot season. We've just gone through our annual get your flu shot season. And now all the hospitals are stretched to breaking point. Multiple NHS facilities are declaring emergencies, partly because they're overwhelmed with COVID and flu patients. Interesting. Guess it's just another pandemic of the unvaccinated. Either that or climate change. Presumably, unlike the last time when we had overflowing hospitals, the nurses just won't find the time to perfect their TikTok dance routines.
We're all in this together. Once we know that we are, we're all stars, and we see that.
What a shame. Exactly as predicted, the face mask mandate narrative is creeping up once again. As happens every winter, the envy of the world NHS can't cope with winter, so we've all got to put our face nappies back on.
Maybe we need to be completely a little bit more scary for the public.
The case for wearing masks forever. The case for get fucked never again. This morning on BBC 5 Live, Trish Greenhalgh stated, when we first introduced mask mandates in July 2020, cases were going up very, very rapidly. And then the mask mandate brought them under control within weeks. Yeah, gonna need a fact check on that one, love. But what about the UK government's own study, which failed to prove masks reduce the spread of COVID in schools? Doesn't matter, get your mask back on. But what about the incredibly damaging, long-lasting, proven harm they've had on children's cognitive development and speech learning? Doesn't matter, get your mask back on. See, the appearance of doing something for PR purposes alone, the symbolic and very literal muzzling of the public in the name of defending the narrative, is apparently way more important than doing something that would actually work. The notion that someone wearing a filthy face mask when they get on a bus or go to Tesco to buy a carton of milk is gonna save the NHS from its annual crisis is laughable. Hiding away again will only delay our immune recovery and make it harder. There is absolutely no reason to demand the return of masks. They have failed epically, said Professor David Livermore. Worse, they cause harm, they impede communication, they impede childhood learning, they create a scurf of poorly degradable street litter. Nor is there good reason to reinstate other restrictions such as social distancing and work from home. A large part of our present problems is that through 2 years of restrictions we lost our natural equilibrium of repeated asymptomatic infection and reboosted immunity with other pathogens such as flu, RSV and even strep A. Doesn't matter, put your mask back on. Remember Sweden, which never fully locked down its population and never introduced a mask mandate. Deadly folly, said The Guardian. A disaster, said Time magazine. New figures show Sweden has long-term excess mortality rates lower than Finland's, Denmark's and Iceland's, which all implemented full lockdowns. Meanwhile, China, which locked down the hardest, had the most draconian mask mandate on the planet, pursued its disastrous zero COVID policy for years, one which many Covidians demanded here in the West, is in complete complete disarray with untold deaths and 1 million new COVID infections a day. How many times do we need to be proven right before they leave us the fuck alone and stop calling for more lockdown restrictions, more masks, more vaccine mandates? Every time there's a minor spike in people getting sick. Have you had your 5th booster shot yet? Are you looking forward once again to smothering your gob with a worthless piece of cloth? What do you think of all these insane anti-vaxxers? Let me know in the comments below. Get early access to videos, exclusive live streams, and personally DM me. You've seen how much I get demonetized all the time. Well, this is how you support me. By subscribing at pauljosephwatson.locals.com. Please click the link in the description.